Libra and chicken people, this is my fifth attempt to do this for you today. I was rained off. I tried a new format. I've just done a reading in this shed that didn't feel quite right. I was getting my bearings. It's very chilly, but I've done, let's hope this works. So I've pre-laid the cards. How you are internally. This is a version of the Celtic Cross that's giving us an overview of where you are at the moment. You are feeling defensive. This is just a stage. We can see the stage markings there of these two lines, but you are feeling like the wounded healer. You don't feel very receptive to life in that case. You feel as if you need to protect yourself. And how this is making you act on the outside is you're using your intuition and you're engaging in your emotions. So well done. I tell you why I say well done, because normally the Nine of Wands might get a bit shut down, but I feel as if there's some sort of progression here that actually, for you to take that information of understanding that you've been through something that's not very nice, and rather than being completely shut down, even though that's how you feel, I feel that you are groping towards a greater understanding. You're going there with your emotions. Yes, the King of Cups can get a little bit over emotional, but you are actually engaging in your emotions and you are using your deep intuition to try and understand the situation as it is now. I like that because it doesn't show you too stuck. There is, at the basis of the reading, a sense of death and transformation. So I know, seeing that Nine of Wands, and we've also got the major nine of the Hermit here, that I can tell that this is a time of great transformation for you, where you've had to let go of one type of life, and now the new king is born. We've got the new dawn coming up. What can I see here? I can see a little rose at the bottom. I have various versions. It's so annoying. My nail has got very short, and then it kind of gathers bits of wood and stuff, so it's not very attractive. So I can see this little rose. This is a different, I like this death card. This is a different version of it than I've been using. This is slightly paler illustration. And I can see a lot more detail here. So I can see a tiny little rose at the bottom of this girl's dress. Normally, this little child looks much more defiant in the deck that I've used before, but here she's holding onto the arm of her sister or her sibling for comfort. I can see the cross on his glove, the ships on the water, and the clear ship and the clear cliffs, and the crown on the floor. Yeah, it's a wonderful version. I have never really looked at this properly. So there's lots of detail. Okay, that's interesting. There's lots of detail in the death. There's lots of elements that have had to be let go of that are being reborn in the basis. And the fact that I'm seeing all these details and it's making me feel quite excited tells me that actually there is a lot that is being reborn. It's not just... there's so many details of your life, I feel, that are starting to kind of have a regeneration. I played around. I picked up these cards instantly because I was at the Warburg Institute in London, where a couple of times recently, where they've got this amazing tarot exhibit, if anyone's there. It's free, you just have to book your slot. And I was looking at the original Waite, and they were much paler than the decks that I usually gravitate towards. So I was trying to find something that in my collection that was a bit paler. I'm not sure it's the original colourings, but I love the detail in the transformation. This is really amazing. Something in the near past, you've been working on honing some sort of skill. You might well be a artist of some sort, very good at something, and you've been putting all your time into that. But we say be careful, because he's not taking this to market at the moment. He's sort of just so enamored in the process of doing it. So let's see what else jumps out when I look at these. He looks like Will Ferrell. Maybe you're a comedian. Oh, it started to rain. It's so cozy in here when it rains. I can hear. I don't know whether you can hear. And I can see a little detail on the bench, a little circle. He looks very happy and a little bit wry. So that's in the near future, obsessed with working on something after this complete transformation. And as a potential outcome, based on this process of death and renewal, all the emotions that brings up and how you have to then grope towards a kind of further understanding of life, we see the King of Swords, and he is raising his sword of truth, and he's looking right at us in this version. Oh, I'm loving this new version. I don't like the colours when I look at them. Just they don't appeal to me so much, but actually the detail's really interesting. He's got a little person in the middle of his crown. And somebody on his shoulder that you always see in the versions. I always see it as a little fairy. So though he's very, very forbidding, this is the kind of CEO of the pack. He's saying, okay, you've been through this change and now we need to use our intellect and get ourselves sorted and be very rigid and disciplined and just get some new systems of thought going and see this very, very clearly. It doesn't it feels like what you're doing is trying to sort of push through the defensiveness of your internal feeling of hurt, that wounded warrior of the Nine of Wands, and then how that's making you act on the outside, which is emotional and intuitive. It feels as if one version of this scenario plays out, that in this moment of transformation, that you then get very tough with yourself and try to sort of think clearly, which I think is wonderful. But I love the High Priestess. I don't want to see her energies squashed for you, because this is a huge moment for you. Everything potentially is changing. And in the near future, so that's one potential outcome based on all these complicated feelings and this death. In the near future, we see you with the energy of the Knight of Cups, offering your Grail cup to someone, riding away from this lot. He's got his back to them, and he's riding away over this river. And what can I see in this lovely new version of the cards? How alert the horses, and how like a woman the knight looks. She's got quite a feminine face to me. And those fish on her jacket. So a bit like the King of Cups, she's taking, I feel like this represents you taking all the things that you've learnt and trying to sort of use them somehow, become re-enamored in life and sort of walk towards your new future, offering what you've learnt through this death and rebirth process. Because in your attitude, we see you as the hermit, the major nine to that nine of the internal nine of the Nine of Wands, that's feeling like the wounded warrior or shaman is what I meant to say. And this is a hermit year. And it's interesting, this depiction makes something small and out of scale about these mountains that he's on, as if he's a giant. So he feels quite commanding, and the light of his lantern is so bright in this dark, dark background, much brighter than my other version. I love this version. And he is intent on his internal process of finding his actual path. So this is you. Your attitude is you need to find the path that's right for you now. You are starting a new phase after this loss, this death and rebirth, and wherever you go needs to be that by the light of your star, the star of bright hopes and dreams. You have to be following this amazing yellow wand and this amazing yellow star, that has to be what's meaningful for you now. And you're not really engaging in the rest of the world. I feel like his head being down like that makes me feel as if you really don't want to know about anyone else at the moment. But you have to find, there's a sort of urgency to finding your path. In your environment, we see another intuitive card, like the High Priestess. But she's a queen, the Queen of Wands. We all love, well, I love the Queen of Wands. She's got her little black cat who's very intuitive. She's looking away from us. She's got her sunflower. She's got her legs open and this kind of earthy staff. She's bare, bold, honest, dynamic, creative, quite selfish, but in a good way. Like, she will look after those around her, but she's just tough. She's going to find her correct path. So this is your environment. This might be how you're feeling. There might be a regeneration of some sort of witchy aspect to yourself where you're feeling as if you, yeah, but she looks so gentle, this illustration. And slightly masculine. So it's interesting, not quite the queen that I would normally expect. There's a sort of softness to her. And she's looking towards the Two of Wands. So she's using your, I think in your environment, and I think this is everywhere, home, work, you are using your intuition and a softened version of the queen, but a very independent female force. I mean, I heard a definition of what it means to be a witch the other day. Who was it that was talking? I can't remember. But that basically it means to be a woman who has her own agenda, who goes by her own heart, a bit like what the hermit would in your attitude is urging you to do. So here you are looking for something new to conquer, but with a very independent and honest and intuitive take on life. And I love that. And I think it is everywhere. I think there's been a major transformation in your life. And in your hopes and fears, you want to get it just right. The Hierophant. You want it to be balanced and right and morally correct. Who do I see in this? So the mudra that he's making, and then his little crosses. Do you remember who had the little cross on his? So yes, in the death card, we saw the little cross here. Oh God, that nail as well. Excuse me. I had a lovely big bath last night. That cross there on the glove, we now see on the feet and on the carpet in front of the Hierophant, those little crosses. This character was pleading with death for some sort of renewal, and we saw the sun coming up. And now, so in your hopes and fears, you want whatever was in this moment of change, whatever was correct and holy in it, you want to see it coming to its fruition. And you want it to be informing your life somehow, like there to be order, but in a moral sense, and understanding. And I want to say, sort of, because he's reminding me of this character, you want to feel that this death has not been wasted, that it's not lost, that whatever you can retrieve from that process of letting go and being reborn is not lost. You want it to become big, and that the seeds of what is lost you want to see again in your life now. I understand that. I experienced the loss of my dog almost exactly a year ago. And when I think of that personally, and I'm telling this story because I hope that it might help other people, is I felt very shut down after that, and angry and cross and deeply, deeply sad. I'm still deeply, deeply sad about it. But I was reading a book yesterday that is a cheesy sort of book that I picked up in the airport that actually isn't a cheesy book. It's actually quite good and scientific. And I had my pen and I was, I thought I'm going to keep this, so I'm going to annotate it. It's a book written in collaboration with Oprah Winfrey, Oprah Winfrey by a kind of neuroscientist. And he was talking about happiness is not just when everything happens the way that you want it to, but actually when what happiness is it coexists with moments of unhappiness. And he described it as being a combination of three things. Let's see if I can remember them. Enjoyment, purpose was the last one, and enjoyment, purpose, and so good. Enjoyment, purpose, and satisfaction, I think. So, and through reading this book, I was getting these ideas about how actually they talk about loss, and they talk about people who've experienced great, great losses, terrible experiences, who still manage to make meaning out of them. And so I was devouring this book thinking, how can I bring part of my beautiful, naughty dog with me into the future? How can I metabolize this experience so that I don't just have to cauterize all the grief and shove this away as an experience that I can't cope with and then sort of jump timelines and just carry on. I need to be able to take the kind of compost from it. I need to be able to move forward in a stream and not be frightened of it and not deny the feelings of extreme grief, but allow them to feed into some happiness in my future. I hope that makes sense. That's what this is making me feel like. That, because he's relating back to that figure of the bishop pleading with death. I think that's what you're aspiring to, is to take some compost from that loss and bring it forward like a line that, so as I say, so you don't just have to sort of leave behind. I really want to talk more about this book, about happiness, but I will do it in future videos, because I'm going to metabolize more of what I'm reading. It's little. So one little thing he had was an idea of journaling. So when something bad happens to you, do your gratitude journal. We all know that. And actually, after my father died, I did a gratitude journal, and it was transformative, and I was heartbroken, and I was very young, and I was heartbroken, and yet it really, really helped, and it made some great things happen in my life. Or maybe it was him, I don't know. But so one other idea along with journaling gratitude was to, when something bad happens, write down what's bad has happened lost a project at work, or something didn't come off at work, or someone was horrible to me, and then leave 2 lines underneath it. And then you go back and you look at this in I don't know, 3 months, you write down what actually was okay about that experience later on. I think this is what he says. And then in 6 months you go back and you write, what did I learn from that experience? That's the feeling I'm getting from your reading, is not cauterizing this loss, learning from it. Because at the end, what we get is judgment, epiphany. This is exactly the feeling that I feel that you need, which is to actually understand, to learn through life, through loss, through good things, to have a kind of moment of deep understanding. And it's so satisfying not to push things away, not to be frightened to look at loss. And this angel here is looking right at us. I don't know if I'm allowed to do those. Look at her. It's very immediate, her eyes. And looks so ecstatic. Look at his head thrown back. I love that as an ending, an understanding. You know, a feeling of really understanding what this loss was about. I absolutely love that for you. Right, 19 minutes. I'm going to really, really, really quickly pull you 2 more cards. One is from the Enchanted Tarot to see if they've got anything to add, though I'm really happy with what we've learned. Oh, 2 cards. Come on, man. Oh, 3 cards. 9 of Boons, Child of Boons. Well, I can't take 3 cards now. We need 1 card, please. 1 card, please. Can you hear the rain? I wonder whether it's coming through. It's so cozy to sit there. 1 card to see if there's any part of the reading that you'd like us to concentrate on for Libra or any advice. And for chicken people, I've got this thing of, you know, if you want to look at a different reading, you can look for a symbol. My hands are cold. Okay, one card, please. No, that's too... Oh, but it is the same character, the Nine of Boons. Okay. She's insisting, so I'm going to read, and she's got 3 cards. So the Nine of Boons with... Oh, they're really lovely cards. Starlight and the Horned Lord. I'm reading a book by Carolyn... Oh, what is it? The Thorn of something. Oh, my, it's so funny. One of my best friends' daughter, who's a bit like a goddaughter to me, loves these. I think they call them fairy books, and so I'm in a fairy world at the moment. Nine of Boons. I'm quite enjoying it. It's not my normal reading, but there's something kind of very pacey about the plot. Okay, because she came out twice. Independence, happiness in solitude, domestic prosperity, taking care of yourself. So this is the 9 of Pentacles that we usually see. This one has got like a lovely little insecty moth thing on her. Moth. Normally we see a falcon on a woman's hand. Tiny things live in the forest. Be careful where you step and look sideways for glimpses of movement. You might spy something like the charming little nook inside a tree stump where a brownie has made her home. Brownies are sociable as a rule, but this tiny lady finds her happiness in living alone. While town brownies are known for making themselves useful in human homes in exchange for offerings of milk and porridge, this brownie prefers to tend her own house and preserve her independence. So she moved to the forest, away from gossip and curiosity and unwanted suitors. Here she can have everything just so, with no interference. Her companion is a hummingbird hawk moth, with whom she shares a love of periwinkles and sweet berries. This card is about home as sanctuary, the place where you gather your strength. Some of your most contented moments are when you are alone in your own nest. There are sacrifices in choosing to be solitary, and loneliness can be the price paid for freedom. It takes a strong character to find a healthy balance between society and solitude. So I think that's talking about you on this quest. And when I talked about those kind of witchy women that don't want to compromise, I think it's saying focus on what your true path is. That's what it's wanting us to. So through this loss, through this moment of transformation, what you're being given is an opportunity to become even more of yourself. And I think that's a very admirable, well, it's the only thing we're really doing here, isn't it? It's not all about everybody else. Starlight. It comes with starlight just before moonlight. So the star card, it's so whimsical. Undying hope, immortality, spiritual connections to the cosmos, destiny, cosmic connection, eternal mysteries. If you walk quietly through the forest on a clear moonless night, you might hear singing high above, where the trees open to the vastness of the sky. There are groves of beech and linden that are much beloved by the woodland elves, who call them Ellerina, crowned with stars. Close your eyes and listen to their ethereal voices. They sing of ages past, with laments for the fallen and exaltations of the illustrious. They sing of the patterns of destiny they perceive from the vantage point of immortality. They sing of the stars themselves, whose light still reaches us long after their lives are extinguished. The elves sing of hope. Troubles and tyrants come and go, but the stars shine ever on. Starlight comes to reassure you that everything happens for a reason, even if you can't perceive it now. Time and distance will bring the pattern to light. For now, breathe in the beauty of this moment and pour out your song upon the evening air. That's so lovely. It's giving us a bit more of a global perspective in this feeling of death. And it's also pointing us to the fact that there will be more meaning in the future. You will understand what this loss has been about. And then we've got the Emperor, who turned up for you in your previous reading. So he really wants to have a say, but I like this one a bit more than the last one. The Forest Lord. Look at him with his wild boar. Very relevant to where I am now. Power from within, virility, natural leadership, nobility of character, fatherhood, domination, and territorial command. All who pass through the enchanted forest must pay homage to the forest lord, for everything that lives and breathes is under his dominion, from the mightiest giant to the smallest shrew. He is the essence of wild male energy, kept under control most of the time. He is the virile rush of the stag, the immovable stance of the bear. His most trusted companion is the chieftain of all the boars, the fiercest creature in the wood. Approach the forest lord respectfully, but have no fear. He is the affectionate father as well as the commanding ruler. He is masterful, but never a bully, and he has earned the love and loyalty of those within his care. The forest lord represents duties that come from great power, protecting his subjects, defending their freedom, and safeguarding their sanctuary. Leadership is a privilege. Authority over others must be wielded appropriately and not abused. Sovereignty comes from within and doesn't need to be insisted upon. The forest lord's confidence comes from staying true to his noble nature. Again, so the Nine of Pentacles, true to herself, him true to his noble nature, and using and hinting that there might be a lot of power in this. And then the stars giving us a sense of greater meaning, and that we will understand meaning, a greater meaning, as we go on in this process. But I think what I love is the sense of your quest to become who you really are, and how powerful that's going to become. And then, three cards, the sun, two cards, the sun and the Three of Birds. So that's the Three of Swords, I think. And that's amazing, which is a card of absence, delay and separation and grief for some people with the sun. So I actually think that's a really lovely note to end on, because I've got an idea what it's going to tell us about. So let's look at the Three of Swords, Three of Birds, and Rachel Pollock's deck is different. So in short, pain, sorrow, heartbreak, transformation through willingness to accept these experiences. This is what we're talking about. Here we see you feeling very hurt, but going there in your attitude, accepting the experience, the discovery of energy inside pain or depression. This is one of the two cards paying direct tribute to the rider minor arcana of Pamela Coleman Smith, the Three of Swords. The other is the Nine of Stones, which we've got here. We've got your Nine of Pentacles from the Enchanted. Three of Swords shown, three swords piercing a heart. Here we see three swords with the bird head hilts crossed in the front of a hill. Where they meet, each sword transforms into something new, a snake, a ray of light, and a river. I'm really going to breathe that in, and I hope you can too. It makes me feel kind of emotional in a weird way, that these are the streams that can take us on from grief. I love that. These swords giving way to something new, a snake, a ray of light, a river. Behind the hill, we see a red hand before a large rising moon. The Three of Swords speaks to us of the agonized heart. It tells us that we can do nothing but accept sorrow. The Three of Birds takes us to another stage. When a person has found, so that's saying the traditional Three of Swords is about sorrow, but here we're at the next stage, where when a person has found the courage to acknowledge sorrow, it tells us that we can take hold of the energy of pain and transform it. This doesn't mean escape, for transformation comes only when we go deep into our experiences. The blood red hand symbolizes the willingness to enter sorrow. If we touch our own wounded hearts, the moon that rises behind the hill signifies a willingness to turn away from the rational consciousness that explains away pain, analyzes it intellectually, or finds distractions in the outer activities, such as work or amusement. The moon also represents divine grace, which supports and heals us when we are ready to accept pain. Accept pain, accept pain. That's what this reading is about. The death, the pain. Maybe you've experienced a loss. Maybe you've lost a loved one, a pet, a loss of a job. I really understand how hard it is to go there. When we feel such emotional pain or depression or grief, it's always the same. These things bind us and hold us down. We feel the weight that crushes us to the dirt. When we begin to release that bound up energy, we discover that it can go in many directions. So here are the directions. Are you ready? The snake symbolizes visions. The light represents self-knowledge, like him with the light of his star. And the visions, what are the visions? Well, we've got the High Priestess here, and the river released emotion, And then we've got the King of Cups releasing his emotion. I think that's so, so beautiful. And with it, so once we accept that, we get the sun. And we all know that we love the sun. So how beautiful. I'm letting this reading run on because it's so gorgeous. Simplicity, optimism, joy, relief from a time of struggle, energy, excitement, friendship, especially between men and women. So basically it's saying, so this is basically saying, in the tower we danced with revelations. In the star we experienced peace in the returning form of the underworld. The moon took us on a journey through the half-light of dreams and mysteries. In the sun we emerge into the light. That's where this acceptance of emotion is going to take us. At night under the stars we feel a remoteness bringing calm. When the full moon, and we had that star, didn't we? We feel remoteness bringing calm. That's that star card here. When the full moon shines, we feel inspired. We may dance or howl. In the light of the day, the ordinary world restores itself. Just as when the dawn comes, everything becomes clear. The moon waxes and wanes, changing shape, dying and returning, but the sun remains constant, only changing in its path through the sky, and then at a much slower rhythm. The Hebrew letter for this card, Resh, means head, and just as many commentators connect the moon to the limbic system, seat of the animal instincts. Gosh, this is bringing back that book, because it's talking about that limbic animal instinct makes us so reactive to our emotions, okay? And that can make us make conclusions that aren't useful, and we need to get control of them. So the sun symbolizes the cerebral cortex, center of human consciousness. I'm going to put the name of this book because if you are going through loss, I think it's really useful in finding a way back to happiness. This is so exciting to me. It's talking about accepting the loss, but using our brain to not let it overwhelm us. The sun wheel on the card derives from the Native American rock carving from Klickitat County, Columbia River, Washington. The layers of colour suggest a pulsating movement through consciousness and unconscious energy to emerge into life. That is, as we move outward from the centre, the orange alternates first with blue, the unconscious, then turquoise, an intermediate state, then green and brown, the colours of growth in the physical world. At the centre, we see a partial circle of purple with a keyhole-shaped opening. Purple signifies spiritual wisdom, the source of the sun's energy. The opening tells us that we too can enter divine consciousness. The concentric circles recall the spiral of fortune, and in fact the sun, number 19, reduces to the spiral's number 10. In the spiral, we broke loose from our limited understanding to discover a greater universe that we had thought possible. Here we find the radiant power at the centre of our lives. We can also describe 19 as a higher level of number 9 that we've got here. In the Hermit, we turned away from the sun to discover our own inner worlds. Now we discover the light which shines both within us and in the bright universe of our daily lives. We no longer need to withdraw from the outer world to experience spiritual growth. This is great. Just as 19 reduces to 10, so 10 reduces to 1, the Magician. We've had him recently, but not here. With that card, we spoke of outer consciousness as opposed to the inward-looking mysteries of the High Priestess, who we have got here. Now, having passed through the tower's lightning revelation, we have overcome the illusions of opposite. The sun shines outward, yet carries an inner quality. At the bottom of the Magician card, we saw 2 shining vision figures. This is sort of referring to these cards here. One light, one dark. Here they've come together, joining hands. In traditional pictures of the sun, we have a picture of a boy and a girl holding hands in a garden. It's funny because the Rider-Waite just has a boy. I must look up which those traditional ones are. The bull above the sun wheel hints at the same union of opposites as in the Emperor card. And we've got the Emperor card here with all his strength and sovereignty. At the same time, so the bull epitomizes masculine energy. At the same time, a schematic bull's head seen from the front closely matches the shape of the uterus and the fallopian tubes, particularly when a woman is lying down. Some ancient goddess shrines show such heads painted or sculptured into the walls. In particular, the 8,000-year-old city excavated in Turkey displayed bull's heads in a room used by women in labour. I mean, look, what it's saying is you've been on an amazing journey, Libra. You have faced some loss and you've faced your feelings around it, and there's a transformation. And we've gone through this period of darkness of the High Priestess and all the emotions of the King of Cups. And we felt our emotions, which means that there are these 3 streams of new life that are coming from them that lead to this beautiful manifesting sun. And you are taking stuff from that grief. You're not just jumping away from it or closing it in a box. And that gives you true sovereignty, true power, like this emperor, where you can really be yourself now and be transformed by this loss and in this mysterious process that we go through in life that has both happiness and sadness, and be a better, more complete version of yourself and create from the sun. And that's optimism and luck and joy and great abundance. So it's really a pleasure to do your reading today, and I'm very happy for you. Bye.